I think one of the harshest realities for me personally when it comes to the music shit is I can't do everything by myself, man. And I wish I could, but I can't. You know what I mean? It's just so much. Like, and I do a lot. You know what I mean? I don't mind doing it, but for all that I do by myself, it's a lot more that I can't do. I record a lot of music. You know what I'm saying? And that's time consuming. And then the process of mixing it or getting it mixed or whatever, and putting it out and all of that, like all of that shit. You know what I mean? Can be time consuming doing the covers for it and shit. And for all the songs that I got, I'd be like, man, I wish I could do videos for these. And I did the video for Introvert and just like a little attempt at, what I mean, something. I saw a video on Instagram where a dude shot a video with his phone, and I'm like, well, shit, let me try that. You know what I mean? I did it. It took me like, a good day, like not really taking no breaks throughout the day from like pretty much like late morning to like early evening, you know what I mean? From coming up with the concept to, shooting and setting it up and editing and all that type of shit. And I mean, I think it was decent for my first attempt, but it's like I wouldn't want to have to do that process all over. You know what I mean? And I would get better over time, but like I was saying, a few seconds ago, like the music making process is already time consuming, and then all the other shit that come with that. So to try to do videos on top of all of that is just, and then have other shit to do in life, like it's just not realistic. And that's just one example of shit that I wish I could do. You know what I mean? It's a lot more that I wish I could do. You know what I mean? To benefit myself as an artist, but that's why it's so important to have a team. Because it's shit that an artist need that they can't really do for themselves, or they wouldn't have the time or the necessary resources, or whatever the case. And it's like you can't just work with anybody and make anybody a part of your team either. So that's where it really, what I mean, is a real, challenge. And it's like, anybody that I consider a part of my team, which at this point is mostly producers, you know what I'm saying? I do work with other artists, but it's not like I have like a squad or, artists that work in house with me, you know what I mean? It's like I more so just collaborate with people, you know what I mean? Like minded individuals and shit. But as far as like beat makers and shit, like I feel like that's more of like my team. And, I'm definitely not short on beats, you know what I mean, at all. But it's just like all that allows me to do is just keep making more music and more music. And I can't really do the other shit that I would like to do for the music, because it's like I said, I did the video for Introvert, you know what I mean? I'm still, actively promoting it and shit like that on YouTube and all that. So, I mean? It wasn't for nothing, you know what I mean? But it's like I said, I would want better quality. I would want somebody to do it that, what I mean, actually specialize in that. Like me, I ain't even put the video in the right format, you know what I mean? It's just like little shit like that for real, you know what I mean? It's like I do my best, but it's like what I would really want to represent me, you know what I mean, from like a music video standpoint, like it just wouldn't be enough, you know what I mean? Like what I'm doing like currently. And then it's like I said, I could learn more, but that would take away from, me working on the music and shit. And like I said, it ain't like I like go to a studio and got an engineer and shit. It's like I'm already doing all this shit by myself, you know what I mean? Like I said, which I don't mind, you know what I mean? It's like literally what I signed up for, you know what I mean, when I learned all this shit. And, I'm still old school. I necessarily didn't, you know what I mean, like make the transition into new technology when it comes to the recording process and all that. It's like I do what I do. And you know what I mean? Like I said, I do like most of mixing, I guess you could say, for my songs. Like, when I collaborate with people, they might be like, send them the stems and shit. And I'll send them the stems with some instructions on, how I would like certain things to sound. And, just be that for real. But I mean, it's really like the video aspect that kind of hurt me because it's like, there's plenty of videographers out there, and I understand it's a business, what I mean? It's a grind and all that. But it's like realistically, a motherfucker can't afford to do all these different videos, what I mean? Then it's like you might run across a videographer that'll say, you know what, what I mean? Let me just take a chance on you. Film me as much as you can, and we'll just try to get as much work as we can done. You know what I mean? It's like, and I wouldn't expect that, what I mean? That's not something that I feel like is anybody's obligated to do, what I mean? It ain't really no favors in this shit. It's more like fair exchange shit, so I get all that. But, what I mean? It's just, wishful thinking more so. You know what I mean? It's really just more like a business-minded game now for most people. Like, a lot of people that start doing music around my time, or it's more so close to my age and shit, like, we kind of still doing it for more than just the business aspect of it, or the clout, or the fame, or whatever. It's like motherfuckers really came up doing this shit, so it's like it's a certain level of nostalgia and happiness and, like, self-fulfillment that come from doing this shit without all the extras, you know what I mean, that people more so desire nowadays. So it's like, with that being said, it ain't even a whole lot of people that's really thinking like that no more, that, what I mean, had that same mindset, which is like what separated me from like a lot of people that I worked with in the past. But, and I don't say that to discredit nobody, it's more so like, what I mean, over time, you just kind of outgrow certain situations that you in, and certain people that you work with, you realize that it ain't as much common ground as you would hope for, or, you know what I mean, shit like that. So, I don't know, man. Like, I guess I say all that to say, like, you got to do what you can on your own, but whatever you can't, you just going to fall short until you figure it out. And that's just kind of the point where I'm at, you know what I mean? Like I said, I do got a lot of good people, you know what I mean, that I work with, you know what I mean, that throw me beats because I know they see and hear the potential in me, and, what I mean, they respect and appreciate what I do, and, you know what I'm saying, that feeling is mutual. So, good music comes out of that, and, you know what I mean, motherfuckers are definitely gonna break bread, when the time comes, but it's not so much about the getting it right here and there, you know what I mean? Some of us is patient, we willing to, just grind it out at no cost, you know what I mean, till, things work out and shit like that. Fortunately we have like ways of being able to get it and shit like that, even if it comes in small increments, but shit, it is what it is, man. You just gotta do what you can, like I said, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, yo. But I just keep, keep building my catalog and keep promoting and doing what's been working for me, in hopes that, what I mean, I can just keep building and networking, and, what I mean, maybe I'll eventually, put all the pieces together that'll help me, what I mean, add more to my resume besides, just a bunch of songs and shit, be able to put together visuals to go with it, and be able to put more muscle behind like the networking and the advertising, what I mean? It's just all about, enough people, seeing your potential and, what I mean, willing to be a part of that. But like I said, you can't just work with anybody, so it's like you gotta know, what's needed, but at the same time you gotta be a good judge of character, and know, like, what I mean, like, is this person, what I mean, gonna be somebody I can work with, and, is the energy there and shit like that. So I'm just doing what I can for now, and it seems to be enough for the time being, you know what I mean? I just eventually look to keep building this shit up, man. But I appreciate everybody that's rocking with me on this shit, and I look forward to, keep putting out good music and content, and yeah, that's what it is for real, man. Rich.